Bigfoot 1 became too big for the streets, what did you replace it with for a daily driver?
When Bigfoot 1 became
Too big to drive on the streets
too big
legally.
for the street. Okay.
Legally, you're right.
We drove Bigfoot 1 all the way up to the 48-inch Terra tires. And I still drove it on the street and started getting tickets and pulled over and everything else for it. I don't know what.
I don't know what you were driving. To tell you the truth, I'm sitting there thinking, what the hell did he drive?
I had a Bronco. I had one of the old Broncos. Like you ended up buying a Bronco too later on, I believe.
You had a Bronco 2 later. I had a.
Okay, you're right. It was a small one, the Bronco 2. You had the full size Bronco.
Yeah, I had a 74 Bronco, small one.
Yeah.
And then I graduated to a 68 Bronco.
Yeah, that's right.
Pardon me, 78 Bronco.
Okay. Next question here. This one is from Eli Mann. What is the most instrumental business decision that you made after hiring Jim?
Hi, Eli.
Eli, come on, you come up with a better question than that. Come on, what are you talking about?
Okay, well, the question was why?
Instrumental decision.
Yeah, what is the most instrumental decision that you made business-wise after hiring Jim to drive and be your driver?
Wow. Well, the hardest thing was building a second truck.
Mm-hmm.
You know, first thing we talked about is, you know, we flood the market. We're going to, you know, really screw things up. And one of the hardest things was watching you take Bigfoot 2 on the trailer and driving down the road, and I'm watching you go all the way down until I couldn't see anymore. So he's got my truck out there, you know.
And this goes back to, I guess you put the truck up in St. Louis. You put the truck up on the berm at the end of the pool track, I think.
Yeah.
And people went out saying you did car crushes Jeff City. And then he starts taking it around the country. Well, he couldn't run the shop and take things around the country, so he'd come after me to help him on the road.
Yeah.
And I think he asked me several times. I turned it down several times because I left there because I got married and I didn't want to go on the road.
Yeah.
And my wife didn't want me to go on the road at the time. But I guess we were married long enough that she had enough of me. So she said, yeah, you can go on the road. And so I came back. I actually got a withdrawal card from my union. I was there 10 years, construction equipment. I said, look, I'll be gone a year. This is a flash in the pan. We talked about this. Everybody's seen a monster truck once. They're probably not going to want to see him again.
Yeah.
And so I went to work for Bob and then never did go back. But when I came on and started doing the road work, you had more time to build another truck or to organize it. Then you got another truck built, and then we hired another guy, and we kind of trained him, and then that's how it went.
Yeah.
You know, you were building a truck a year.
We were for quite a while, yes.
And I was on the road constantly, and then when I was on the road, I was training guys to go on the road.
Or working on the vehicles.
Or working on the vehicles, and it's just like, so, I tell you, that next set of 10 years is a blur. Just bang, bang, bang. There's so much happening all the time.
Yes.
Because it was to our surprise, I mean, people love this stuff.
Yep.
And at some point we still thought about, well, okay, we'll make this state, we'll make that state, and they'll see it and it'll taper off. But
I think we've hit every state union. We've been in
yeah.
Alaska, we've been in Hawaii, we've been to 26 countries, we've been in eight movies. You know, it's been a very busy 40 years or so.
But I think if you graphed it, the first 10 or 15 years is this.
Yes.
And it kind of went, it kind of faded out a little bit. Economic times, everything, that people weren't doing what they did.
Yep.
And then every year since that, it's been climbing.
Climbing again, yes.
And I'm really gratified to see that something I've been involved with all my life is really stuck with people. And they really enjoy it, like the event we went to in the Monster Truck Museum and moving from Auburn to Butler.
Yeah.
We were up there this weekend, you know, and I don't know, it must have been 15 miles from the one location to the permanent location. And the whole way of people. I mean, it was just really something to see. It's like the old days. This is a legit parade.
Yeah.
And everybody turned down. And you got out of this. The two-hand kid waves, you know, and I haven't seen that in quite a while. And the kids are just so excited, they're just waving both hands. And it was really fun to see that.
Yep.
So like I said, this has been going on all these years, but
Yeah.
it wasn't a flash in the pan, Bob.
Yeah, there was no single thing, you know, there's thousands of things that happened in that time.
Oh, yeah.
That changed things.
That's what I mean. It's a blur. Everything's happened. Just everything clicked.
Yeah.
You know.
And we were kind of good at the mechanical and the things, and my wife took care of all the books and all the paperwork, and that's the only way we would have survived.
Yeah, and Ron McGruder was good.
McGruder,
I mean, he had a
yeah.
good shop going there. You know, selling parts.
Candela.
I mean, it's Midwest 4-wheel drive. That's where
Yeah.
it started.
Bob Hill
And
Freeman,
like Dave Cronin.
Bob Hill Freeman.
Once you hired guys like Bob Pelfrey and Roy Huser and Kelly Kennedy and all those guys,
Yeah.
I mean, they kind of took care of the shop for you.
Yes.
I mean, you come out with an idea and Pelfrey would go, yeah, that never work. And the next day you go, I figured out how to make this work.
Yes. Or you and I get behind the
Yeah.
scene and say, well, if we tell him this, then it'll be his idea, and then he'll get done real quick. So.
He was a master at figuring things out and building
Yes.
things. He can
Yeah.
make
Yep. It's
you
sort
take
of-
a mound of crap and make something beautiful out of it. He really could. So once you got these, you know,
attitude.
what's the secret of business? Surround yourself with good people.
Good people.
And we were very fortunate enough that
Yes.
the right people came in and stayed
Yes.
and allowed us to grow.
Yep.
So, kind of going back to those times, what do you guys each feel that the glory years of Bigfoot were?
The glory years.
Probably, I guess, the most, instrumental time period of when everything started advancing and getting to the point where you
Probably the
never
first.
imagined it to go.
The first 10 years probably was the
Probably longer than that, Bob.
Longer than
Yeah.
that. Because it was always the deal that, my wife and I would talk about, we got to go to as many shows as we can because this is not going to last. And every year it got bigger and bigger and kept going. One of my favorite things, I talked to Art Arfons, who was a tractor puller, really neat guy, one of my idols. And I was telling him that one day, and he says, yeah, I told myself that 30 years ago too, he says. But it kept growing. It kept growing. We kept building trucks. We kept doing new things. And every year we'd come back to the same promoter, the same venue, with a new idea and do something different with the truck. Have duals on the truck. Have a 10-foot tire truck there. Whatever we did. Ms. Bigfoot. So it grew for probably more than 15 or 20 years.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Strong.
we made the jet jump. Dan Rutsey jumped over the jet. We did some big things like that, and the distance record. So we kept going with things.
Yeah.
But it got such where we got so busy, we didn't have time to do R&D like we used to,
Yeah.
and specialized. I would have loved to have just a specialized truck, one truck that we don't take everywhere.
Specific
We do
purpose.
R&D with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we can try all this stuff out, try new stunts out and everything else.
Yeah.
And we never, because once we built the truck, it was busy.
And when we had a new truck come out and we made changes on it, much better, we didn't have time to pull other trucks off the road to fix them the same way. So it took us a long time to catch up with our own vehicles.
So, besides Bigfoot number 1, which truck do you think contributed the most to the success of Bigfoot?
Bigfoot 4. That was really experimental truck. We did everything with it. We bent the 5-ton military frame rails on it. We got replaced that. We when we wrecked it down in Nashville.
John Pine.
John Pine.
Put it up on the wall, yeah.
Put it up on these concrete barriers and busted.
Just clean out the hole underneath.
Yes, it was really bad shape.
I'm standing in the starting line, all I saw was smoke and flames. I go, oh my God, I hope he's alive. I swear, I couldn't see. And once you got down there, he ended up full speed landing on the median barrier,
Yes.
and it slid down and it took everything, just cleaned it out.
Yep.
And luckily he was fine.
Yeah, he later got out, and there was the manufacturer of the seat belts was there, and he went over and thanked him. He says, "Thank you for your product. It really worked well."
So, around the same time period, advancing
I
up
like to go
until-
back to number 4. Number 4, like you said, 1, 2, and 3 were not struck, but they were fragile. I mean, you had to drive with kid gloves,
Yeah.
and you couldn't do much with them, and you couldn't turn them, and you'd be hitting the fenders. And 4 came along with the military frame, and jacked it up a little bit and put the beefier axles in, and me as a driver, I could start doing more. I had a tougher truck. I got hit these cars. Wow, it didn't break. Let's see, let's hit them a little harder.
Yeah.
Wow, it didn't break. Let's hit them a little harder. And then fours, you never saw monster trucks flying over cars till you got to number 4.
Yeah.
You just didn't see that. Number 3 wouldn't handle that.
No.
And the old frames, I mean, we reinforced the frames on them, but they're still like spaghetti though. I mean, it just moved around a lot. So number 4, I think, is very instrumental. And then, and to tell you the truth, you know, Ford, we trained drivers in Ford.
Yeah.
But then we started doing all the shock trucks, but we came back to number 4 again, making a hybrid. You know, we cleaned off the top of it and put a tube frame on top and put nitrogen shocks on with long travel springs, and that was a viable truck for years.
Yeah.
And it was a damn hard truck to beat indoors. It was heavy, it hooked hard, and these really short indoor races, even he had lighter trucks with a lot of horsepower. You spin the tires, old Ford dig, and they go whoop.
Yeah.
And here's this old truck, heavy old truck, beating some of these new trucks.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah, I put this on 2 time period. 4 was really the big change back then until we got the Bigfoot 8. 8 changed the whole industry because 4 we had a problem. We were breaking axles and everything else with planetaries on. That kind of saved the industry back then. But it was to the point where the drivers are getting hurt all the way up to Bigfoot 7.
oh yeah.
And tearing the trucks up pretty bad, and they just couldn't do anymore. Promoters wanted us to race. That's where we came back and put number 8 together with the gas shocks and the tube chassis, and instead of having 6 inches or 8 inches of suspension travel, we'd have 1.5 feet, 2 foot of suspension travel. Easier on the driver, easier on the truck, better show, stronger. It would race. It'd be faster because it's on the ground longer. So there's two vehicles, 4 and 8 to me, the best.
I don't think we ever had 8 inches of travel on the old trucks.
No, probably not. Probably more like 4.
But the thing was, Ford showed us the tough truck of what was needed in our industry because we had to run every week.
Yeah.
And you just couldn't do rebuilds all the time. And so we skipped a number of basically 5 was the big truck, and then we did number 6. And really put some metal in number 6. I mean, it was heavy. It was heavy to the fact that it was a little bit slower than some of the other trucks, you know. Yeah, it was very heavy. So we had to kind of up the motor on that a little bit. And then 7 came along, and it was heavy. And it was a tank, but instead of breaking trucks, we're breaking drivers.
Yeah.
I mean, neck injuries and back compressions, stuff like that. I went through all that, and I know it would tear you up. The truck would tear you up. You'd be fine, but you come out of there and you couldn't move. And
Yeah, our early trucks, like 1 was probably under 10,000 pounds. When we got up to 4, we were starting to go over 12, 13, 14,000 pounds. And the 7 and 8 probably were about the
they were
7
heavy.
rather.
Yeah, they
8
were.
wasn't 6 and 7. I meant. So,
6 and 7 were tanks.
yeah, and then when we came to 8, we went back down to 10, 11,000 pounds again.
10,000.
Yeah.
But the thing was, Bob, is just you saw this. You know, hey, I can fix my trucks, but I can't fix my drivers. I got to have my trucks out every week, and I got enough shop force I can do that. But I don't have 6 extra drivers.
Yeah.
So we really start paying attention to how we can make it better for drivers,
Yes, for
so
sure.
they can keep doing their jobs
Yeah.
and not hurt it. And I mean, he bought exercise equipment for the shop upstairs, and have a regime of exercise before the shows and all that stuff, trying to warm up because
Stretch.
these trucks actually beat you up.
Yeah.
But then number 8 came along, kind of changed a lot of that.
One of the neat stories of Bigfoot 8, Andy Brass drove it most of the time. And he raced in a series, and we told him ahead of time, I said, Andy, the truck will blow everybody away on this series. Take it easy. If you're going to win by just a small amount. I think you told the story right, that one show he fell asleep on the line, and the other truck was halfway down the track before he put his foot to the floor. And he put his foot all the way to the floor, and he won that race. So, and that's when the promoter says, I'm sorry, the truck is it's not competitive. One truck beats all the time. He says, so we're going to disqualify you for the rest of the year. You know, we'll give everybody a chance to get caught up, and you can come back, you know, with the truck then next year. So.